Γεια σου Γιάννη. Άμα δεν κατέβω από εδώ ζωντανός, σε εξορκίζω να τελειώσεις αυτή η γάμο ταινία. Γεια σου Γιάννη. Άμα δεν κατέβω από εδώ ζωντανός, σε εξορκίζω να τελειώσεις αυτή η γάμο ταινία που μου έχει βγάλει την ψυχή.
Man, I think with all these comrades who died here, not just fighters, I mean all these people who gave a piece of their life to build up here.
It all started in 2015 with a public event I attended in Athens Polytechnic. It was a presentation of the International Freedom Battalion, or IFB, an internationalist military unit fighting against ISIS in Rojava, Kurdistan, northeast Syria. It had been founded earlier that year by 3 leftist organizations from Turkey and other internationalists.
We, Spanish, Germans, Greeks, Turks, Arabs, Armenians, Lars, Czechs, Albanians.
I decided to join the battalion as a soldier, together with a close friend of mine. While at the same time, I would bring some filming equipment to shoot a documentary. It proved to be an insane plan. Combining both roles while spending most of the time in the front line was extremely difficult, frustrating and exhausting. After a year and a half in this war, I came back in one piece myself, but my material was all over the place. A huge amount, first of all, but also quite chaotic, spread out in time, place, and theme. It seemed impossible to assemble it into a coherent film. Something was missing to bind the narrative. So, at Lulu's suggestion, who was the editor at the time, I went back to northeast Syria after the pandemic receded in the end of 2021 to shoot an update. This time was different. I was there as a journalist, not a soldier, and my filming work was much denser. I met with and interviewed a wide array of people: army officers, politicians, common citizens, mayors, governors, council chiefs, trade unionists, journalists, even the vice co-leader of the central government. And I ended up coming back with enough material for another 3 movies. Thankfully, there are editors. Να πω, πάρε εδώ κατάσταση τώρα, κοίτα εδώ που ανέβηκα.
فلك ببخت فلك ببخش كان داري من فلك ببخت شكان داري من نما كسرونش لبراري من لداي
We arrived in Rojava on the 1st of July 2016, while the Battle of Manbij was raging. It was a pivotal turning point of this war, which marked the beginning of the end for ISIS, which is better known in the region as Daesh. Manbij was of immense strategic importance for Daesh, and they fought bitterly for every inch of it. This battle was the harshest, bloodiest, and most crucial battle of the whole of this war, after, of course, the Battle of Kobani. And on our 12th day in Rojava, after a mere 8 days of training, we found ourselves on the front lines, on the northern outskirts of the city, where a unit from one of IFB's founding parties was fighting. 2 freshly arrived Greeks within a force of Turkish communist guerrillas. There was already a strong sense of internationalism.
This is Point Aziz. We captured this point since middle of the June. We are fighting here against Daesh. This is northeast out of Manbij city. They tried to attack us so much, but they don't succeed. Whole of there is Manbij city. They're attacking here from this side. For example, 5 days ago, they came to this house, and there's a black car. They came till there, and we killed them. At the other side of the city, or rather Hawaz, coming to us from inside the city, cleaning the city and coming to us. We were shooting from the holes, they were shooting us from the holes. It was like camouflage war. It was hard, we couldn't take rest well. I'm not saying this for comfort. If you want to fight, you have to take a rest, otherwise it will not go. The biggest problem in the city war was water. The logistic can't bring water because everywhere is war zone. We were cutting the boiler's pipe, and if hopefully if there is water in that boiler, we were drinking, which was the worst waters I ever drank. In the frontest line of the last neighborhood. Daesh has threatened us by killing all the civilians in there. They gathered all the people to the school garden. They said, either we kill all the civilians or you're gonna let us go. We let them go. They run. That's how Manbij is liberated.
نحن قوات سوريا الديمقراطية جينا حررنا مدينتنا بلدنا منبج، وبدنا نحرر كل منطقة فيها داعش، والمدنيين مبسوطين كتير لوجودنا هون، لأنه داعش كان عم تظلمهم، داعش كانت عم تذبحهم.
من دون تحقيق راسا يكمشوا يذبحوا ويصلبوا على الدوارات. العالم رايحة كلها تضحك عليه. تشوف هالشيء هذا رعب. الأولاد صغار قام يخافون بالليل، هم نايمين يكحصون فلان انذبح قدامه فلان. هذول كلهم جاي يشوفون اولاد صغار، النسوان كلهم.
شالوا على كلمه يقصونه، على كلمه
بضرب بالعصايه على السجن، قطع عيونك.
الحياة صعبة والله، كنا ما ناخذ راحتنا خالص، بيلبسونا مثل ما تقولون اكياس زبالة، يلبسونا العبايات والدرع.
ما يعطوه اكل او شرب الا يسحبوا دم من الرجال، وهي الحياة يعني عيشتها مذلة جدا جدا.
ليش تطلع هيش؟ قال حرام اتقى من النار، لازم تتحجب وتطلع.
ما هو مسلم داعش، داعش بس يقطع راس، بس يقطع بس يقطع بس ذبح ذبح.
اسلام نحن يبا كي اسلام، نوزع خير العالم، نعطي ماي اكل
خبز نعطي العالم. داعش ما يسويش.
انقذونا من الموت،
انقذ الشعب،
انقذوا الشعب، وقفوا مع الشعب، يهلون بالشعب.
وبساعة جابهم أكل ومي وشرب للأولاد، والأكل اللي ما كنا ناكله عن داعش صرنا ناكله.
منبج تخوازي جوان خلص خلاص قرنك زوجي ناخوازي بنا داعش بمنبج بمي وآلي كارن وقرتيوان برن داعش للجماعة شيدبن.
تغيرت كثير وقت جاء الحزب الديمقراطي، الحياة تغيرت كثير، يعني فرقت من السماء للقاع يعني.
صورني انا بتحت. السلام عليكم. فتحوا لنا مدارس، خلينا نتعلم نرجع من اول وجديد، والوضع كله خير هون وكل شيء فيه هون. الله بحي سوريا الديمقراطية.
العيش يعني ماشي حاله لسه، يعني ما صارت 100% لانه لسه بيها الغام.
يعني بدنا يعني شويه يشيلون تسريع شيل الالغام يعني من البيوت العالم، لان عم تتضرر العالم كثير. القامة اللي خلفوها داعش.
ما جانا شيء رخيص، والله ما جانا شيء رخيص، والله ما جانا، ما تغير علينا شيء. تغير علينا تعرف شنو؟ السيجاره صرنا ندخنها وازارنا ودقنا حلقناها، هذا تغير علينا.
ايش اول كان الربط الخبز بشحاته
350 هلا ب 60 ليره ما عم تلاقيها كمان.
ايه ما تلاقيها. يعني الامور كويسه هلا صارت، معلش كويسه، امور فرجت، بس شويه الغلا معلش مرخص العالم. اليوم ايش بدي ياكل الدرويش؟ هذا ايش بدي ياكل؟ الثاني ايش بدي ياكل؟ سوزوكي اليوم اجارها 1000 فرع بالنهار، بدها تعيش 12 13 بني ادم، مبسوط. الدعاء ان شاء الله يوفقهم ان شاء الله. الله يوفقهم الدنيا اخر الدنيا ظاهره، والله شفنا على وجههم الخير. والله ادعي لك ديمقراطيه، ادعي لهم.
يا رب يذكروا.
ارجع اقول لك وحيد حيا ديمقراطيه.
ايش في فرق بين السماء والارض؟ الحمد لله رب العالمين.
يعني قلنا نزل ازارك، ارفع ازارك. عيش قوة سوريا الديمقراطية. انت عيش قوة سوريا.
Manbij is one of the 4 largest cities in northeast Syria, with an estimated population of more than 500,000. Although there's a clear Arab majority, it's considered a very multi-ethnic city. Strategically important, it lies at the intersection of the M4 highway with 216, which connects Aleppo to Raqqa up to the Turkish border in the north. Nowadays, it has become a hub for the development of industry, with private investment encouraged and facilitated by the autonomous administration. It counts around 400 manufacturing workplaces of various kind and size, the most important being the iron recycling factory and the water bottling industry. Devrim and I went back to Aziz Point together with Akin, another guerrilla. The farm looked different. The big tree was cut down, and the current tenant was complaining for lack of water and being unable to make ends meet. It felt odd and satisfying at the same time to casually walk across that dreaded olive grove that we used to monitor 24/7 for the fear of enemy attack.
That was the place where the battle was, no?
Yes, that house.
It was where there was a black car.
Yeah, there was this black car.
We reunited with the neighbor's family, had dinner with them and stayed overnight. It was quite moving an occasion. They told us they were doing quite well for themselves, but were terrified of the possibility of war breaking out again in their area.
Okay, here we are again, in the same place.
Because of its importance, Minbij is always at peril. It's widely thought that it will be the main target of the next Turkish invasion. The defenders of the city, however, swear that if that were to happen, it would be nothing like Afrin.
ام بحثی اراده هیزن خوی لش گریدی کن در فتن دست مادا نوک برینه حاضرتی هیزن ما نوک برینه و هم آمدنه و هم برسیویت کام بده
پرستین خورد او آمده.
ام باش آمدنه و پرستن مجی باش خورده.
After the great victory in Minbij, there was a lot of rejoicing and widespread optimism. This was violently interrupted by Turkey's first invasion into Syria in late August 2016. For a brief period, there was a possibility of war with Turkey. But after the mediation of the Americans, things settled down in a new balance. In the period of relative calm and stability that ensued in the next couple of months, the handful of non-Turkish foreign volunteers that were present in the IFB created the IFB propaganda team in an effort to empower the ranks of the battalion with more internationalist diversity. We produced more potent propaganda in those 2 months than ever before or since. The battalion gained global recognition, and the results of that would culminate a year later in the Battle of Raqqa, making the IFB a symbol of revolutionary internationalism.
What's cooking, Guerrilla?
Oh, hey! Here at the IFB, we're making a revolution. It's breakfast for dinner.
You want to tell us why you came to Rojava?
The IFB supports a democratic, a socialist, a peoples-based revolution. And I've seen it. We've all seen it here. You can go to places and see the public support. I came to the revolution because I could. Because they asked for help, and I was able to do it. And the only reason not to go if you can help and you're willing to help is fear. You can't live like that. It took me 4 days to decide to come to Rojava.
You reach out to Yepigei International. You sell everything that you own. You wait for them to email you back and say, okay, get on the plane.
I quit my job. I saw my friends for the last time, and I got onto a plane and I flew around 6 different countries, and then I arrived in Bashur.
Moonless night, the whole gang of us start walking across this plain, and there's lights kind of here and lights over here and dogs barking, and really feel like I'm escaping from prison or something like that. I don't know. We've stopped a few times because someone heard something or something. And we get to the river, and they appear with inflatable boats, totally silently. And they're like, come on, we go into the boats. We get on the boat, and one of the guys just hands me his M16, and he was like, okay, you hold this while I, row. And I was just sitting there crossing on a boat with an M16, and I'm like, this is so cool. This is the best decision I've ever made in my life, And whatever, it's kind of naive excitement, but fuck it, I don't know anyone that didn't experience that kind of how awesome is this shit?
Sometimes you hear these stories, people go, I smuggled across the river, I smuggled across a boat, and you go, oh yeah, of course you were. That's pretty much exactly what happened. Like to the nail on the head. That is bang on what happened.
Originally, when I came here, I wanted to join the IFB, International Freedom Battalion, because it's a combination of 3 communist groups.
To know that there were communist organisations here, organising and fighting and building a communist politics, was a very big factor in my wanting to come.
Idéologique, c'est pas de construire une force communiste ou une force anarchiste. Ici, on gomme ces frontières entre nous. Au sein du bataillon, on n'a jamais eu de problème là-dessus, on n'a jamais eu de débat.
We have a common ideology, not like socialism, communism, and anarchism. Our common ideology is revolution.
I thought there was a chance to do something new, even though the politics are slightly different than mine. I mean, I'm a Marxist-Leninist. It's not a Marxist-Leninist state. I'm not so dogmatic as to think that like I know all the answers. I mean, fuck, man. Like I gotta see if this is right.
C'est pas la phase classique de révolution, dictature du prolétariat, communisme. Après le PYD, ce serait plutôt donc la révolution en cours, confédéralisme démocratique et arriver au socialisme. C'est une autre idéologie, c'est une nouvelle théorie développée par Öcalan.
They're far closer to being anarchists than they're being Stalinists, like, despite what some people may say.
This isn't an anarchist revolution, but at the same time, it's also not a Marxist-Leninist revolution. There are elements of both and elements of neither.
There's 3 pillars of the revolution: autonomy, women's liberation, and the social ecology.
First is the people's revolution, and of the people living here. It's like an equilibrium, a balance. Nobody is taking a protagonist voice. The protagonist is the people and the fighters.
It is objectively a just war. There's no bones about it. You know, one side is giving women access to education, political power, literally arming them against threats to their person or political security, and the other side is raping them to death. Daesh got volunteers from all over the world. We had an obligation to be just as committed and to materially support our side just as these fascists.
What I've seen has also very much confirmed my view that the struggle against Daesh has been an anti-fascist struggle.
At the end of the day, you're still fighting fascism in some kind of aspect, whether it's back home or here. So to come here and to give my life or to give everything that I can to fight fascism in whatever form it may take, I would always deem a natural progression from when I started in politics.
To be a socialist of any stripe, you have to be an internationalist.
You know, you spend so much time talking about Spain, about the partisans, about the Black Panthers, about the Black Liberation Army, or all these people. And then when there's people somewhere being like, hey, are you interested in this? Well, we're having a bit of a problem right now. You know, you're more than welcome to come over. Why would you not go?
Like after I watched this video, I was like, holy shit, like there was like a whole war and like the communists and anarchists won. And the YPG won, and like this is crazy. Like I want to know what winning feels like. We have a long history of losing things. We haven't won a lot. And I think that's part of the process and it's to be accepted, but it is very demoralizing.
It's amazing to see that like this is like we're winning. I'm so used to leftists losing, like always, and losing, not only losing but losing really badly. And like at this like the fact that like we're not losing, we're winning. You know, I don't know if we'll keep winning, but we're winning right now. Is totally fucking amazing to see.
Internationalist participation is still ongoing in the military, albeit significantly less so than in the days of the war against Daesh. As YPG International Commander Heval Dirok explained, besides the lower number of volunteers, the nature of the challenge for such participation has changed significantly as well.
And the motivation, in a way, changed, and obviously warfare changed. Daesh was a force on the ground. They didn't have air superiority, but now the fascist Turkish state is a NATO army. It's the second biggest NATO army, so obviously fighting against such a NATO army is very different.
On a different note, internationalist participation in the revolution has always had a civil component, and this one is also very much ongoing on various fronts. An iconic example is the Internationalist Commune, established in 2017 and still going strong.
The main purpose of the internationalist commune, main reason for the existence of the internationalist commune is that to have a place for internationalists here in Rojava where they can stay, where they can learn from the revolution, where they can participate in the revolution, where they can on different levels join the revolution here in Rojava.
Another institution open for women volunteers to join is the Andrea Wolf Institute, also known as Genealogie International.
Genealogy means science of women, at the same time science of life, science of women's revolution, we also say. I would really invite all kind of women from different backgrounds, different struggles, different regions of this world also to come here.
On the 5th of November 2016, Phase 1 of Raqqa operation began. The night before, Daesh launched a mass offensive against our front lines, and IFB's forward point in the desert was attacked, among many others. This was our first taste of battle and of victory. Daesh must have hoped to delay our offensive with that attack, but in vain. The operation started on schedule the next day and went on for about 2 weeks. Meeting little resistance and liberating a vast amount of thinly populated land across the Syrian desert. Closing in on Raqqa and taking the first step to surround it. IFB was constantly on the move, taking one point after another, one village after another. Although we didn't do much fighting during that operation, it taught us a lot about the tactics of war and how sometimes they can combine brutal hardship with sheer boredom.
It wasn't particularly like the movies, you know, it wasn't particularly like you had seen and read in books or like how you imagined war to be. It was a lot of like sitting and being cold or sitting and being really hot. There was, you know, being sick and having to continue to fulfill your military duties. It was a lot of moving. Maybe you could call it like slow burning. Like, yes, there would be like short periods of action where we took fire, and there'd be long periods of time where nothing happened.
Raqqa operation has started 3 days ago. This is the first village that we captured. International Freedom Battalion is in the frontest line within YPG. We are holding a point here and we are waiting to move forward tomorrow and the day after tomorrow and the day after tomorrow.
So is this the very front line?
Yes, this is the frontest line of Raqqa operation.
And Raqqa is there?
Yes, Raqqa is in the south.
Η επιχείρηση ανάδειας της Ράqqας είναι μια μεγάλη επιχείρηση. Για να πάρει καιρό. Είναι βήμα-βήμα θα πάει. Τώρα είναι πρώτο βήμα που κάνουμε μια γραμμή προς τη Ράκκα. Περικυκλώνει με τη Ράκκα. Αυτό είναι το θέμα. Σιγά σιγά κοντεύουμε στη Ράκκα. Πρώτη γραμμή που μόλις αυτές τις μέρες άμα τελειώνει και ξεκινάει η δεύτερη γραμμή. Και κάθε γραμμή είναι σημαντικό. Επειδή έχουμε πολλές γραμμές από logistic που έρχεται φορτηγατζής, μέχρι τρέξι που φτιάχνει το μευζίδες, μέχρι οι άνθρωποι που φτιάχνουν τα φαΐ. Δεν υπάρχει πόλεμος. Πάει κάποιος και να ρίχνει δύο σφαίρες. Αυτός δεν είναι πόλεμος. Ο πόλεμος είναι μια ολοκληρωμένη πράξη.
Μέχα κερβί καρίδε, σβούγω az peşya havala satıra çekim, mozi. Jbog haval tekevim pişde, gişarı xabık. U trekis nemeşi haval nikarim bimiş.
Na karim hamu satıra. Satıra çetkiş bu haval kote de Paris. Sir Chava, you are a hero of the revolution. I mean it.
Daesh από τι μεγάλωσε φόβος του λαού. Τώρα ο φόβος έσπασε.
We are gonna liberate this town. We are gonna liberate the Raqqa. We are gonna liberate the village. We are gonna liberate the empty field. We are gonna liberate the Syria, Rojava, and the whole world eventually.
Jihaf parçabu Kurdistan agav Katnava dastin charni arimen Jihaf parçabu Kurdistan agav
A huge chunk of the territory we defended until the advance of November 2016 was lost to the Turkish proxies during the last Turkish invasion into Syria in 2019, which also left Tal Abyad, Serekanye and a whole strip of land in the north occupied. This war devastated the region once again and created a wave of internal refugees.
تمام هذا الزاني أنا ودبيت دخلت بأوروبا خلق شو أوروبا أخوص ما بيجي أوروبا بس أنا نورن لأنه أوروبا ما فالفره أوروبا الفر سريع كوني أوروبا أبو بس ما نزول من أوروبا فارقص شيرين بو.
The M4 highway had always been a strategic asset to control, and now it's the de facto border between Rojava and the occupiers for many kilometers of its length. The function of the traffic on it is quite complicated. For most people, the only way to traverse it is to follow the Russian army convoy that makes the route back and forth at least once a day. Along the new border, there is constant friction and low-intensity warfare, with Turkish drones and artillery regularly wreaking havoc in the nearby villages. From Ain Nisa to Til Tamer, the threat of Turkish shelling is looming at all times. The end of phase 1 of Raqqa operation brought us in a tiny village in the middle of the desert, just a few kilometers north of a town called Kalta, where Daesh was well entrenched. The IFB took 2 points, with the main one being the school, the most strategic building in most villages. We were going to stay there for more than we imagined on arrival, almost 4 months, and this place would become the theater of 3 battles within 1 month. The first one, in the last days of 2016, was relatively short, and I wasn't there for it, hence there are no images of it whatsoever. In retrospect, it seems as Daesh might have been testing the ground, because the second one came soon after, and it was probably the biggest battle the IFB ever gave. Just before the break of dawn on the 7th of January 2017, a mere 12 hours after I had returned to the front, about 30 hardened elite Daesh cadre came specifically for the IFB. They stealthily surrounded our 2 points and launched a surprise attack with tremendous firepower. They got dangerously close to overrunning the school and managed to kill one of our own at the other point. But as formidable soldiers as these psycho-fascists were, our well-fortified position and our collective discipline helped us prevail. 21 of them died that day, and the rest ran away.
Saat 5:40-45 gece civarında kapı tarafından bir roket atıldı. Roket atıldıktan sonra mevzilendik, karşılık verdik. Çatışma başladıktan belli bir süre sonra çete yine kapı tarafından okulun girişine farklı bir roket attı. Roket attıktan sonra kapının arkasında bulunan mazotlar yandı. Biz yangınla uğraştığımız sırada bir tane çete bu taraftan, buradaki kapıdan çete içeri girdikten sonra burada bulunan arkadaş çeteyi görüyor ve çeteyi etkisiz hale getiriyor. Etkisiz hale gelen çete yerde uzanmış vaziyette bulunduğu sırada üzerindeki intihar yeleğinin pimini çekiyor ve kendini patlatıyor. Patlattıktan sonra çetenin gördüğünüz gibi parçaları DAEŞ tüneli kullanıp bizim bulunduğumuz noktaya saldırdı. 2 tane çete kümbetlerin arasına mevzilenmişti. Özellikle bizim enternasyonel taburun diğer noktasına atışta bulunuyorlardı. Ara sıra bu tarafa da atışta bulunuyorlardı. 2 tane çete duvarın arkasına mevzilenmişti. Kısmı hem diğer nokta hem biz de görebiliyorduk. Bir swingçi arkadaş roket attı oraya doğru. Roket attıktan sonra biz taramaya başladık orayı. Ve 2 çeteyi etkisiz hale getirdik orada. Saat 12 gibi bizim panzerler gelmeye başladı. Ondan sonra arkadaşlar bu taraftan kontrole başladı. Evleri kontrol ederek bu tarafları komple yaptılar, kontrol ettiler. Bu çatışma gerçekten uzun ve çetin bir çatışmaydı. DAEŞ çetelerini imha ettik. Bu çatışmada Doğan yoldaşımız kahramanca savaşarak şehit düştü. Doğan yoldaşımızın intikamını alacak insanlık düşmanı bütün DAEŞ çetelerini yeryüzünden yok edeceğiz. DAEŞ çetelerinin kafalarında silahlarımız patlayacaktır. Bundan emin olsunlar. Şimdilik bu mevzideyiz, buradayız. Eğer DAEŞ çetelerinin cesaretleri varsa gelip saldırırlar buraya. Biz şimdilik onları bekliyoruz. Eğer onlar saldırmazlarsa zaten biz yakın zamanda Rakka'ya gireceğiz. Onların kalbini yok edeceğiz, parçalayacağız.
This battle was so brutal that it made the next one seem almost easy. And yet somehow, it wasn't as terrifying as you would expect. It involved the witnessing of images that most people would describe as horrific and shocking. What shocked us at the time, however, was the complete lack of shock. Beyond the usual explanations premised on psychological defense mechanisms, some of us discovered something else that, in this condition at least, such images are not necessarily haunting, just as long as they come from enemy casualties. I didn't flinch while taking these gruesome pictures, some of which I'll hesitantly admit I still find oddly artistic. But I felt goosebumps of dread from a single glance at the imprint on the soil that our comrade's body left where he fell.
Okay, I'm coming.
Nestor.
Mahir.
One more thing, Nestor.
One more thing, Mahir.
Why not Nestor?
One more thing. Back in the school, huh?
Going back to the school was the most poignant part of this revisiting tour. Mahir was overwhelmed at times.
Nestor, I am using all my power, Nestor.
But I know that he loved it profoundly being there again. It seems rather symbolic in retrospect that the building we so fiercely defended against 3 attacks was a school. It looked so different now than when we left it to advance to Raqqa. Seeing it all repaired and functional was quite something to behold. These children were to us the embodiment of the promise of this revolution. A revolution that is still in progress, and rather slow progress for that matter. But the ultimate long-term plan was to breed a new generation of people oriented towards freedom through a revolutionary education system. A generation that would shape the future. This was the vision we fought for. After a long, harsh winter of constant war readiness, the spring finally came and the front line was temporarily quiet. The opportunity arose for me to spend some time in the civil life at the rear, and I grabbed it eagerly. Coming to northeast Syria was not about having a war adventure. It was about experiencing and defending a real revolution. I had to see and hopefully document what it was that we were fighting for. I wanted to investigate the economic and political aspects of the Rojava revolution. I never had any overblown illusions about it. I could see through the romanticizing of Western media, and as someone involved in the making of propaganda, I knew quite well that reality is hardly ever what propaganda presents it to be. But there was clearly something historic and unique going on, and I wanted to find out how much was there and what were the prospects for the future.
شورش اریناس لوی ولانتی شورش هيا لوی شورشه جيان السيفيلان جورتي داره اري اوي كادر عسكري سر شورش بيجه او لسر شر خود بيجه کا شر خو پشت كوي او نبينه شر خو پشت كوي شورش خو سر كتيه لجيان السيفيلان لوكرما هين او لسر رامان نبيه هين سر نسكينيه
حتى رجاء رجي ملات هين تي استفاده ناديه يعني وكبالي تي استفاده ناديه در فتننا امكاناتنا چیه المهم يعني که مواكملات هين ت فايده ودر فت جوه مثلا في او في بترولين نديتيه
كاركال براس تيجي السهرة وهنك كيما شبر تشبه بونا و تدشي بضاعك يسوق تشكي كريد $1 بهابوا
والله نهانا باش
كما
امسير رجال برون ورجا شراجي 2000 يعني ام شغل يعني من 10
خذها بالكاري ما زحمتها ام تعبين وخذها تشتكنا جيما ونانزقيها بال
شورش روجابا تو خازل خو سر آبوریه کی جیواکی آوا بکن آنا لور دو بشریه یک بشه که جیکرم ته سیستمی که جیکرم ته باندورا و هیچ هیه و سیستمی که ام دو خازن آوا بکن سیستمی که کوپراتیف
يعني كوبراتيف دوي دور 25 انسان او باني دبي يعني خو بكنا يك 25 ج كومينه كيش كوبراتيف كيش خورا تشيكن وشاندنيه بكن او جبوي هناكي وضعي واخوش به هناكي خورا كارك يبكش بو كز بطاله من راسيه
بري احداث سوري دس بكن معامله ما سر عهدي نظامي بري بشتي احداث دس بكن قال لك تجاري ما ايه خديره اسمالي وهبن ايه خاص قطاعي خاص Il
n'y a pas d'usine, il n'y a pas de grosses usines, il n'y a pas de trucs comme ça ici. Si vous devez voir le travail, ce sont des paysans, beaucoup du travail familial, surtout du travail familial. Les Kurdes n'ont pas la connaissance pour produire du pétrole. ils n'ont pas la connaissance, par exemple, pour raffiner correctement le pétrole. Toutes les têtes pensantes, tous les industriels et tous les techniciens qui travaillaient sur cette production ont été retirés par le régime syrien quand le régime syrien a dû se retirer du canton de Jizre.
چما نکنه کمپانی که یونان بینیش، قبرس بینیش، بلغاریا بینیش، bu tasfiye. و petrol pırra.
Naha petrol yani bir kemem derdik. Heneki belavi geldik ama heneki şey bu şer. Sistemi kam duhazın ava bakın ali abori da ne sistemi ki ser petrole. Yani bir ket. Jibek gellek velat meditiye ser petrole ko ava kirinin وحمو هرتي شو قريدين بترولي اللي برد جيبك نهات يابك سيستمك جيبوا أبورية جيبك نهات يابك
هذا يعني إنساني فقير بيت كاري بعيشي شغل هاي كايب شغلي وإنساني يعني تزنقيل بوست زيبري جهرن بازنا شو لكن لا شو جوتر مالش بوي مالي خرافات سيماري دياري روجاما خوشا وزاده يقولوا شو جوتا
شديد ببيت المجتمع
يعني دعواتنا دست بکردی ام بیشن کمین و مجالس دست بکرن کمینی خو آوا کرن کمینی باجارا مثلا هر چند تاخه کی دبن ناوی کمینه کیده او کمین جی همه گریدای ام بیشن مجلساوی تاخه
اصلا خباته ساکنه سر مجلسی از خبر در که مجلسی من داخل مده 1060 ماله من 12 کمیته دعوا کردم 12 کمیته هر کمیته که 5 رجله خواهنه ایوا کمیونه و خدمت مدنه واندا سرو که ما درستنه یک جن یک میر ده در کمینه دو فرق عرب سریان یهودی چه دینی خوابه ام تفرقه و جداتی نابرد ما بینید کسا
کمینه ای رو شکر بگرگه قازاقی جر خوارن زراعت کماوی بعرضه واردکن توخمی زراعت کمین کار خوابه ایش خاصیت یعنی
The communes, which is one of the things I was very inspired by. The communes obviously looks like a great victory for democracy. They're not as strong as like widespread as it'd be lovely to imagine. But the party genuinely is working to try and spread these communes, to improve this work, try and get more people involved. Interestingly, it's a revolution from the top down.
Dıddıkari adi askeri da hamu rojratan hamin bir destek. Şöyle şek bekliyor, şöyle şek askeri, şöyle şek politik. Ama şöyle şek civaki yani nerede bir zahmet. De şöyle şek dini yine zihniyete kel, leverde bejin zihniyete bazı, zihniyete nizam, zihniyete sistem bir خورته جبر بنقاوي بر كيفنا يعني
إيمة قليمة شعبنا غلطتي شكومينا فين كري جواوري شلو يكومي واري مالا خورمشتيبه حمدشتي وابي بروا نجياي بيتشتي بكردي دبي هندكن وهم دخون
باجر مي ملت مي مجبور حركز جي دبيرو جواد جور في سيستم هم بمش سیستم کی دموکراسی و کهوی آزادی همه انسان همه چاند همه نتو جی خود نافت گرین جی خوش رهی
ام وک باخچه کی همو gelin بندست بناسدکن
نتک ام دجی ذهنیتا وی دولتینه پشتی گوام بیجن ام تخوازن همه gelin جهانه همه gelin روجاتا ناوین سیستم کی دموکراسی و کهوی آزادی مخاب خبره و ببه سینور نبروان نمینه کره جهبدو عادس بون نبروان رابه
و دموکراسی نه کی دما انسان دموکراسی دبیجی Avrupa tebiravi دموکراسی نه Avrupa دموکراسی آنا لور آنا لسر dünyayı da her ciye ki demokrat rojavay Avrupa mesela her tiş zakonu, her tiş nizame. Tçava demeşi, tçava bir mesele, tçibiki her tişte haya manate, hurfeinte, همو عالی devlet ve hati nizam. Demokrasiye bir esası de komünanda derbastı.
I hope that the local councils, continue to take challenging ideas. I hope that they're able to, even challenge Oppo's ideas. I feel like that's a sacrilege to say, hey, maybe this guy isn't completely right about everything. Because he's not. A lot of his texts have interesting things, interesting ideas, but also they're peppered with stuff that is like nonsense.
There is an incredible cult of personality around Abdullah Öcalan. I've seen that man's face everywhere. They say his name for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They teach it to children. They say Besar Akjian Nabe, without leader there is no life. Literally referring to Abdullah Öcalan. Biji Serak Apo is the war cry of the entire forces.
Li gringia ve şoreşeçiye şoreşe hemu gelin bindeste. İro jibo avakırna şoreşe sosyalist ev derfeteke mezine em derfeteke mezin dibinin.
Em demadı bizim biratiye gelen neci bu vitrine. Em demadı bizim demokrasi ne vitrine. Dema em de bizim mafi gelen ve keviye gelen azadiye gelen em ne. İro ispattık. İro hezleme bir ispattık.
The economy in northeast Syria is in a dire state. Being tied to the Syrian pound and the dollar, it has followed the trajectory of the overall Syrian economy, which has been suffering for years, heavily affected by sanctions against the Syrian regime of Bashar al-Assad. What makes things worse for northeast Syria as a fundamentally agricultural region is the severe drought that comes as a combination of the lack of rainfall and Turkish violations of international river flow laws. But even in these conditions, the revolution has managed to maintain the characteristic that has been a source of power since the beginning, being obviously better on all fronts compared to anything else around it.
نحن في الإدارة الذاتية رغم إمكانياتنا المحدودة مستوى المعيشة والأمان موجود في شمال وشرق سوريا غير موجود في الحكومة السورية أو في مناطق الاحتلال التركي في عفرين وإدلب وتل أبيض ورأس العين.
As much as the economy is crumbling, it's still in much better condition than anywhere else in Syria, and the standard of living is higher. This is achieved by various policies, including very hefty subsidizing of some basic goods like bread and petrol.
Yıllık sadece ekmek ihtiyacı yani un için ve diyelim buğday ürünleri için $100 milyon bütçe ayırıyor.
As for the socio-political progress of the revolution, communes and councils seem to be more active and more in number than what I found in 2017, which was very little. It seems to still be the case that they function more as distribution centers and complaint desks, rather than the production cells of politics that reflects the people's collective will. However, this time around I saw and recorded something that was different than before. Unlike previous situations where I witnessed one or two officials doing most of the talking from the table and the people as audience listening and clapping, these were actual people's assemblies, where there was contention and debate, often harsh criticisms of the administration. And this was the hardest evidence of real political transformation towards self-governance that I had seen so far. It was a heartwarming sight, which reaffirmed my conviction that I put my life on the line for something that was worth it. While I was investigating the civil and political life, there had been some significant developments in the IFB. An anarchist group had joined its ranks. As soon as I got back, they approached me and asked me to work on their propaganda. I accepted and promptly started working on a video for their official announcement that befitted the style of their written text.
We announced the creation of the International Revolutionary People's Guerrilla Forces to defend the revolution in Rojava.
The results were intensely viral as intended, albeit somewhat flamboyant.
And advance the cause of anarchism.
It's the 26th of April, and we're on our way to the Tabqa front.
I also agreed to go with 2 of their fighters to the Battle of Tabqa and record their deployment for propaganda purposes. Mostly, though, I took this opportunity to have a first-hand experience and record of the original People's Army of this revolution. It was gonna be the first time that I would be deployed outside the IFB and be part of a proper YPG-YPJ Kurdish fighting unit. The YPG and YPJ are normally gender segregated, but when they move in operation, the squads are often mixed. When we arrived, our forces had just broke into the city. Chechen fighters were present, and resistance was formidable. But it was a crucial battle that had to be won.
Just. تمام كنترول تمام no problem.
عن كل زحماتك يتشاتنبو الحمد لله دركاتنا فرالغية والحمد لله ما الفاريات دي والحمد لله أن دركاتنا فرالغية.
The Rojava revolution is a woman revolution. If they come here and fight with, for example, YPG, they are now free. They give the other women the confidence.
هي الفخر والله معهم لون بدهم أنزل أروح لأن أولادي أنزل أروح معهم.
There are around 10,000 women fighters here. They did the same. They fought against Daesh. They died, they gave their life. That changed a lot of things in society.
It's not just women with guns. The far larger revolution is happening in the civilian life, with women in civil society being able to have jobs and, sort of hold positions of power.
Pour la première fois aujourd'hui dans le Moyen-Orient, on a une organisation, le PYD, qui force un peu les choses pour que les femmes puissent faire partie du pouvoir politiquement, on va dire.
Evjinin kaya noha dibin deslatları zamanda kantone da dehemu saziyan da riveberia avakırna şöreş edikin.
The amount of opportunity that is here is given to women is revolutionary by Western standards. And by the standards of what existed here before, and under the Ba'athist state, is like aliens could have invaded, and I think it would have made a little bit more, sense to people.
After the revolution, it became easier, We have our rights, women can talk. She take her place in everywhere, in schools, in official places, and she has her voice now. Now we have Congress that take care of problems of women.
Congress شوني يعني عم بيمونا يعني ثقافة تجني كود هندر سوزيون دا كارتك جريداي كونغرس تار يعني كونغرس تار عم بمهي جارك رابور خدنا خبط يخال الودارة الجي كونغرس تار خبط خدنا الخنا هر کسی کو چه کار کریه یعنی جن جارك دخواه نیزکی آبوری بکه آبوری دست هاوش بکو جن دستی خواه بر برای خواه بر باوی خواه بر هر کسی بر نگره ام ببیشن زارو که کچکی رو عمر بچی ناوه بزوجی مثل بر البته دارد ناو جوا که مدا زارو 15 سالی 13 سالی دزوج آندن یعنی جیانی و تاب ده حرماندن
شورش ما بر ذهنيتي ذكورية يعني مير حاكم بالسرجن مصيري و بريوري و بالتحديد بكم عم بالي فينا.
Lots of young civil servants, teachers, like officials, journalists, that kind of thing, employed by the party, are often young women who've been given for the first time in their life, like freedom to work, freedom to like have a job. But there's this problem where the state is just like not paying them enough to live independently. So they have to fall back into this family model, this model of like one woman, one man. The woman has children, does most of the housework.
التجارة كده د 5 سالان د 6 سالان د avakırna ve sisteme evkas nehe sana jibokihin zihniyeta Kevin.
هرتش بتاكوشين دماء منك مثلا سيستم قبل 10 كيزيدات ربيش حصار صوي سيستم كان مش تبالي دولتي يعني تبي بشي كونه بوغيره لا بس اما شورش شي كونه بتشنا نو بتدا خلق بك
اگر آلی زانبونی د پیش نکهوی تجاری دعوا ما في خو نکاری بکی تجاری نکاری دعوا آزادی خوب کی تجاری جبنوی کوالیتی و استقلال کرنی د درنا کوي جبرویجی از بجم مشوره شما بو شوره جنی دستک جن وری آزاد کرن.
If we make a revolution, it will be not finished till the end of the patriarchy. The fight will be always continue.
The gender theory here stems a lot from genealogy, which I think is important, but I'm quite critical of. This example, for example, that the women are like natural caregivers or like sacred beings. I think it's pretty patronising to women. When the point isn't that women can be like brilliant mothers and we should reward them for that. The point is women can be
There's like a sex negativity about it all that's really kind of, I think, insidious.
You got to understand, they didn't have the same like sexual revolution that we had. It's not the cultural sort of timeline hasn't followed the same path as like sort of like the West's, I guess you could say.
Homophobia, yes, sure. Homophobia is in everywhere.
There's a gap when it comes to maybe more critical gender theories and LGBT politics in Rojava. I think it's a topic that's just not touched on.
If they say I am with the women, yes, I support them. Women liberation is very important. If we say that, we must fight with homophobia too. It's about patriarchy.
كسن تبحث وانا دكيز زي الفرتنان يعني كيمن دبا قول سر تليان ورن هجمار مثلا من بخا حتى نها من او ناديته
شو بما فلان راسته يعني انا جي بشك يشوفها كنا بس اما قوري روشي هي نها يعني اجمارك هري كامل تشتكي نادره بتري خا يعني كان درجات انا ما تشتكي صوتي دتنين يعني تدرج هبجي حركه تشتكي سري فشرتي دمشنا.
I also criticize the fact that there's apparently no gay people in Kurdistan, which is A, patently untrue, and B, really dark that assertion has been made like more than once. They're like, no, we don't hate gay people, there just aren't any.
Well, you know, gays in Rojava, they don't really, and like you can tell they want to say exist, but they're not going to say it is, like, and then they stop themselves and like, well, they exist, but they're just not public, and until they organize themselves, we cannot really organize them. And I'm like, but it would be common for, you know, a man in Rojava, if his brother found out he was gay, to kill him. And they said, it wouldn't be common, but it's a possibility. And I'm like, oh, I wonder why they're not organizing in public then. That's an interesting, you know. And that's a critique for you. That's crazy.
This is an important thing, and we must talk about that and do something. Maybe call the LGBTI friends here and to fight with the patriarchy, to fight with the homophobia, to fight with the killers.
There's a group within the IFB which forms a queer LGBT like contingent and publicly announced it.
Queer anarchists within the IRPGF took the initiative to make a specific queer non-binary cell in which they could be accepted, welcomed, and they could struggle with that identity firmly open.
And Caster's reaction was to first deny its existence and second to write a statement that was disparaging to maybe this group. This kind of liberal democracy that they're trying to build here it needs the existence of basic human rights for all people.
I guess my hope is that the women's revolution is a stepping stone for more revolution for queer people. I would hate to feel like I fought for something that let me down in the future. So, yeah.
This revolution's been a slow process. The future might be optimistic. But I know, looking at this region, I think I'd certainly rather be gay here than any other bordering country.
Tabqa is not a historical town. It was only a small village until the late 60s. It was the construction of the dam on Euphrates River in the 70s which gradually turned it into a large town. To this day, the dam remains its main feature and an asset of huge importance as its power station produces the majority of electricity for the entire northeast Syria.
وكم دانشان سدي حشتي حتى سدي حشتي بين النرجية بكوري سوري جسداتش سدا فراتي وسدا تشرين وازاديته حرس سدي سرح جمع فراتنا.
As for the deconstruction of patriarchy, it's still in process, with setbacks as well as progress. The Congra Star has been expanding, building an institutional presence in 27 cities and towns around the territory to promote women's rights. There is still, however, a fundamental contradiction in a way between two of the pillars of the revolution.
Because on the one hand, you have as a pillar of the revolution the concept of like women liberation. At the same time, on the other hand, you have autonomy, for every people. The revolution gives the tribe their autonomy. And the autonomy of the tribes may be that, you know what, our tradition is the woman should be in the house and never come out.
يعني دهنك جيادة كم ما يدرج بعد النذهر دريدة أما هين دهنك جيادة أثير حتى هيدي يعني ورقة قبول كرن دهن دري جرار هذا جبوه ناجي أم ديس دبجنا أم وك كونغراسدار وك حركات أجن دهن دري شورشة رجابادة أم دبجن أم بيشن دي شورشة رجابانة أم تقوشيني دكن هردمجي أم بأسرار عند تقوشيني دجوا آزاد ياجن.
In my effort to investigate how things have progressed or not for LGBT people, I stumbled upon some disturbing rumors that people were occasionally being arrested for homosexuality. I tried to dig into this as much as possible. It turns out that there is definitely no legislation in northeast Syria that targets LGBT folks. None that protects them either, though. These incidents I heard about, if true, are likely to be initiatives of police personnel to enforce Syrian Ba'athist law. Once again, Rojava revolution may be far from perfect, but comes out consistently better by comparison.
Freedom fight will continue until the communism. It will continue until the genderless world.
Raqqa was the de facto capital of the Caliphate. Its liberation would mark the destruction of Daesh as a state entity. The battle for Raqqa city seemed to be the ultimate destination of our journey. The IFB had been moving south through the desert towards it for a long time. When the final operation started, it was at the forefront of the campaign. I returned to the IFB after Tabqa, when it was already based on the outskirts of the city. We kept moving from point to point, keeping a base at the second or third line and taking ground through offensive operations. The advance was slow and perilous. This battlefield was mined more than anything before. The IFB kept pushing towards the city center, with a steady presence at the front line of this campaign till the very end. Our last point, or Khan Point, one we shared with Arab SDF troops, was near the stadium where Daesh committed some of their vilest atrocities.
Usually in an operation, what does the IFB do? For example, we advance, we destroy mines, we use fitil bombs, rockets.
I would say we kill Daesh.
Yeah, okay, that too.
So we arrive at the city walls, and this is just as the sun is coming up. But then you're hit by this vista of war, and it's like all around the city walls, what looks like a moat, a wide dried up river full of destroyed cars, and these huge piles of dirt that were pushed up against the old city walls. And then you see the wreckage of Raqqa and the old city behind all these walls. And they're like, oh yeah, this is the front line. Like, this is the end of our lines.
The IFB kept a pretty good training program. We trained in sabotage detection, looking for mines, how to deal with mines, Mevzi construction. Mevzis are defenses that you build. They are places that you build up so that they're better supported against incoming gunfire. We're talking sandbags or pillowcases filled with finely crushed rubble.
They do this for 12 hours a day.
The IFB did a great deal of taking ground, mostly controlling buildings for mines, and sometimes controlling buildings for people.
As you kind of advance into each of these points and make sure they're clear, another Cassidy unit will come in and reinforce it. And the idea is really that the whole war works like this, at least the city war, that small teams move in and clear buildings, and then they get reinforced, and then everything just moves forwards this way.
First operation was the craziest experience of my entire life, probably the most intense experience of my entire life. And then my war began to look like a movie.
Like the scene from the sort of semi-apocalyptic nighttime, like battle scene from Apocalypse Now. It was nighttime. It was a ruined city. There were basically loads of very, very young people with guns around, and there were flares going off. There was artillery. There were airstrikes in the distance. The closer to the front line we got, there was more and more gunfire.
It was very, very scary to be in the dark, in the middle of a street, in what was supposedly enemy territory. And at this point, our commander sees movement across the street from us. I was downstairs, I was guarding the door, and that's when Daesh opened fire. I didn't have a good vantage point. I was guarding the door, and they were shooting, and I saw shadows, and I just started unloading, shooting my Kalashnikov at everything I saw. curtains, shadows, a cat. Cat survived and tormented me for the rest of the battle, but it took me like, I was panicking. I was definitely panicking. It took me like a comrade saying, okay, there's nothing there. Eventually, we got everyone out. There was an airstrike near us that gave us enough cover to run out under fire, and we basically like ran our asses out of the city. My very, very good comrade was running ahead of me. I was behind him, and I heard a shot, and a bullet went by, and then I saw my comrade fall flat on his face. I was like, oh my God, like, he's dead. He's dead. What do I do? Oh my God, he's dead. He's been shot. Do I keep running? He's really big dude. He's like 6-something. How am I gonna drag him away? And then eventually he just got up completely, and before I reached there, kept running. I was like, wow, he's so brave. He's been shot. And he's running. I gotta be ready to treat him as soon as we turn this corner, as soon as we get some cover. And then I get to him like, what's wrong? Where are you hit? And he was like, hit? I just fell over.
I fell flat on my face as I was convinced that I'd been shot. There's one thing that no one sort of tells you about war, particularly in cities, is that the streets are absolutely covered in rubble. Like they're, particularly when it's dark and there's dust everywhere, you fall over like quite a lot.
Σίδερα να εξέχουν με πράγματα. Κλασικά σε κάθε επιχείρηση μια τούμπα θα την έτρωγες, ας πούμε, θα πέφτες κάτω. Στην καλή των περιπτώσεων, χωρίς να σε πυροβολάνε, αν σε πυροβολάγανε είχες εμπλοκή, έπεφτες πάνω από μια φορά.
Our tactics during the Battle of Raqqa, during the city operation, changed. They evolved as we learned and as the entire forces learned. We, first of all, had to be acutely aware of mines. We suffered from mines. Our Tabor itself had significant casualties from mines.
Άνοιξε ένας καινούργιος χώρος, πήγανε δύο παιδιά για να βάλουν, να κλείσουν το βράδυ όταν πλέον πάει νύχτα, κλείνει στις εισόδους κτλ. Πήγανε να κλείσουν αυτή την είσοδο, δεν ήταν την άκη και ανατιναχτήκαν. Εντάξει, αυτή τη φάση ήταν η πρώτη φορά που έφτασα κοντά, εγώ, γιατί ήμουν πολύ κοντά στα παιδιά, δηλαδή με χτύπησε λίγο το σηκωκύμα.
In Raqqa, there were just mines everywhere. Like, every bit, every meter, like, was mined.
Αρκοθετημένα τα πάντα. Έπαιρνες ένα πράγμα να την αζώσουν. Περνάγεις μια πόρτα να την αζώσουν.
On a stair, for example, a rock, like something like this, they've disguised as mines. There will probably be points in my life where I will see like a cable or a suspicious object and be like, stay away from that, it's a mine.
Donc la méthode que les YPG emploient, qu'on emploie aussi, c'est ce qu'on appelle la futile bombe. C'est-à-dire c'est une sorte de bombe artisanale.
A futile bomb, ideally, should trigger every mine in a room when you throw it in a room.
With an ammonium nitrate-based explosive inside, handmade, wrapped in tape, that looked like something from like, you know, the early 1900s and the anarchists might throw into like a government building or something, and just chucking them, like, incessantly.
Au coin de chaque rue, à chaque croisement, à chaque entrée de maison, à chaque entrée de porte, dans chaque pièce, on va lancer 1 à 2 à 3, voire 4 futiles bombes.
He already has 2 futile bombs, you know that? Can I leave my rifle here?
The strategy was to inch forward, take a few buildings, occupy the front line, and then slowly do that until we had enclosed Daesh into a smaller and smaller pocket. We moved through buildings. We had to move through buildings. We couldn't move through open space. So that means we all have a lot of experience breaking down walls with sledgehammers and whatnot. We called them tunnels. They weren't exactly tunnels, but they were kind of tunnels. Basically going through buildings. There would be 2 what was called pioneer forces. 2 people advancing, which is incredibly scary and seems a little bit foolhardy, but it was the way it had to be because if an entire team detonated a mine, an entire team was wounded, there wasn't the sort of logistical support for getting wounded out. We've had to carry people and bodies out like for a kilometer once.
Όταν χτυπήσει στο διπλανό σπίτι που σκοτωθήκανε, έπρεπε να μεταφέρουμε τα πτώματα πίσω, να τους πάμε. Οπότε αυτό σημαίνει το πτώμα σε κουβέρτα. 4 άνθρωποι να το κουβαλάνε. Να κουβαλάς ουσιαστικά έναν άνθρωπο, αλλά να μην κουβαλάς έναν άνθρωπο εκείνη τη στιγμή. Είναι τόσο διαλυμένο που δεν ξέρεις τι πιάνεις, ας πούμε, για να το σηκώσεις και πιάνεις τα πάντα. Δεν ξέρεις, είναι μια όμορφη μάζα. Και να πρέπει σε αυτό το περιβάλλον, με όλες αυτές τις συνθήκες, να κουβαλήσεις τον άνθρωπο και να... καλά θυμάμαι και ένα Κούρδο που κάποια στιγμή περνάγαμε από πολύ δύσκολη σημεία που τον είχε πάρει αυτό το παλικάρι πλέον στην κουβέρτα έτσι. Πώς κουβαλάνε τα ζώα, ας πούμε, τα σφαχτά, έτσι με την κουβέρτα το παλικάρι που είχε σκοτωθεί, ας πούμε, και κάνει κάποια βήματα.
I hate cleaning up after a war. Stop.
We have been getting shot from a lot of different positions. So we've identified 2 of their positions and we haven't really seen much movement. We returned fire with the Big C and it's been relatively quiet since then.
How long have you been here?
I can't tell if it's been 3 weeks or 7 years, but it's one of those 2.
حاليا احنا مرابطين باتجاه داعش. المنطقة الموجودة هذه منطقة دواعشة ويوجد فيها داعش، ويعني بتنا على مسافة بسيطة جدا جدا من تحرير الرقة.
So we turn over there and I see this guy and he's just standing up on a balcony, like not even taking cover, just firing and firing.
The balcony with the 2 blankets?
Yeah.
Yeah, is his head right above the balcony?
General?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Can I shoot him?
Well, why are you asking me? I don't make
can
decisions
I shoot him?
around here.
I guess shoot him.
Okay.
And I definitely get him, and I can see like a little bit of blood spatter and something go flying, and then the shooting stops. And moments later, the Cassidy guys that are downstairs come running up in Arabic or Turkish or something, or Kurdish. They're yelling, don't shoot, don't shoot, don't shoot, stop shooting. Halas, halas, finish, finish. And we're like, what are you talking about, finish? We're in the middle of an attack. These guys are trying, like, they're really going for it. And they're like, no, no, no, stop firing, stop firing. Daesh, halas, Daesh, halas. And we were like, Daesh, halas, like, ISIS is finished? Like, the attack is finished? And they're like, no, no, Raqqa's finished? And like, no, no, no, Daesh, oh, finished. And so they're like, wait, so the war is over? Azad turns to me and he's like, oh gosh, I think you just ended the war. And I was like, all right, yeah. He's like, yeah, you just ended the war. You killed the last guy. The war is finished. They couldn't deal with it anymore. And I was like, all right, yeah, I'll take it.
When the battle was over, we were told by our commander that we were allowed to shoot 3 shots into the air. And we were hearing over the radio that shooting in the air in celebration was forbidden. But obviously everyone wanted to do it. Everyone came to the roof.
Fuck you, let's go.
μεγάλο σχολείο. Μαθαίνεις τα ωριά σου. Μαθαίνεις να ελέγχεις τον φόβο σου. Και αυτά τα λέω μιλώντας περισσότερο στο κομμάτι του επιχειρησιακού, αυτό που ζει στον πόλεμο δηλαδή, αυτό που λέμε πόλεμος. Μαθαίνεις το θάνατο. Μαθαίνεις το θάνατο.
When we were gradually encircling Raqqa back in 2017, advancing in purely Arab territory, there was a sentiment among some of the Kurdish troops that this is just something we had to do to defeat Daesh, as requested from the Americans, and that the revolution would hardly flourish in Daesh's former capital. Somewhat ironically, hence, Raqqa is now by all accounts the most blooming city in northeast Syria. Blessed with a relative abundance of water in a time when it is precariously scarce in the rest of the region, the city is booming, producing sugar, corn, cotton, and other agricultural products. Reconstruction has been moving at a remarkable pace, sponsored by the autonomous administration and creating job opportunities as the population is steadily rising, with immigration flowing into Raqqa from around the region, including the Syrian regime territory.
بلغ عدد الرخص في المدينة تقريبا 3800 رخصة بناء جديد أعطت فرص هائلة للمقاولين الموجودين في المدينة، للتجار الموجودين في المدينة، للمستثمرين الموجودين في المدينة لإضفاء طابع جمالي جديد لمدينة الرقة.
Where? That one is Orhan Point. Orhan Point. Like before that big building.
Wow.
First time you enter?
Yes.
That side was our region, that side was our friend, and that side was enemy. And from that road, Daesh always, every night almost, they shoot to us this way.
What was once the capital of Daesh is now effectively the closest thing to a capital of northeast Syria. The headquarters of both the political and military administration have been moved here, as except all else, it's also safer, further away from Turkish aggression. Support for Daesh has withered away, and the few remaining cells in the region act more as bandits rather than militants. After being scarred with turmoil and atrocity for several years, Raqqa is now looking at the possibility of a blossoming future.
la critique et l'autocritique, pas seulement la critique. Mais cette critique doit être créative. Ça ne doit pas être une critique qui est là pour détruire, ça ne doit pas être une critique avec une mauvaise pensée. Les révolutionnaires qui prennent part à cette révolution ici ont beaucoup plus le droit d'émettre ces critiques.
I knew kind of coming into it that there was a lot of complexity and that there wasn't an ideological purity that's just like, oh, they're like this perfect anarchist, loosely federated anarchist syndicate that achieves full consensus all the time. And I kind of thought that's okay because we materially probably can't build a revolution demanding that kind of ideological purity. I think that it's an opportunity for us to kind of self-reflect, recognize what things we can be okay doing, and then do them. Like, we can't wait around waiting for things to be perfect.
My conclusions politically is that the revolution still has a long way to go. I came here with a lot of optimism. I wouldn't say I'm pessimistic now, but I think I'm less naive about the situation.
I still think that it's the best choice, or the best possibility for the people here, for the region, like regional geopolitics in general.
Il n'y a pas une solution, une proposition politique, un projet politique qui surpasse le Rojava. Il n'y en a pas un seul dans tout le Moyen-Orient.
يعني نها بيجومان تشتكي صديصات لدنيا تباهيتنا مثلا شخصي ام بيجن تشتكي صديصاتنا كما سيوي هنا كما نيوي هنا هر تشتي بينا هن تجربة رجواجي من كود مثلا صالن كيمن.
What most of the critics of the revolution Rojava are missing is the understanding of the timescale we're working on here. This isn't a revolution that's going to be over in 6 months or even 6 years, but speaking to many of the cadre here, like, this is a revolution that's being understood in terms of 10 to 20 years minimum before the emphasis on education, some of the real harder policies start to bear fruit.
نقارن بين كيماسي وقلكي يعني تشتكي مو أوادكي أو شورش خلاص نبيه هنا دس بينك ليه أم فهم ذك أم رخنا جدك أما ببراتيكي خوبه أم دنا بيستمدان أم دبجنا وشورشه ولا برد تشتكي نو تياوا كري
تشتكي وقت خيالك إنه بنعي يعني تدروك وشافك تبيش ببا وصلت هنا يعني حرتش بتاكوشين دماغ.
There's very few things that we should be willing to die for, but like actual liberation of people is certainly one of them.
Despite any criticism that I might have, it's something that I still believe in. It's something that I at no point said, no, I'm not willing to die for this anymore. Let me out of here. So yeah, if I had the chance to do it again, I'm pretty sure that I would still do it again.
And for all my complaints I have about it, I'm absolutely glad I came, and I would do so again in a fucking heartbeat, man. It's great to see.
This revolution, while it may not be perfect and it has tremendous criticisms and contradictions, was something that our generation will look back on as a learning experience, as something that we did for all the right reasons. We will continue the struggle after Rojava. A fire has been lit inside of us.
There's more hope than I think I would have acknowledged in the last bunch of years. I think I had kind of given up a lot of hope, and I think that I have a lot more hope now.
We need good news. We need hope and to demonstrate to people that things are possible. Coming to Rojava was like a kind of going to a place to find hope. Let's call that like this. And I must say, I found it. It's really, yeah.
آخ لدای
فلکا ببخش کاندار من فلکا ببخش کاندار من نما کس رونش لبرار من ندای